Chapter 4 deals with matrix logic. Okay, so this is a problem-solving strategy. It's a lot like elimination, but we're just going to learn how to organize our stuff into a table. So a matrix is a chart or a table used to help us solve problems based on clues. We will set up a one-to-one correspondence between the elements in a problem, and sometimes that one-to-one correspondence will deal with more than two elements. It might be 3 or 4 elements. We can use clues to help us to determine what is absolutely true, but more importantly, we'll use clues to help us eliminate items that cannot be true. Okay, so we're going to start with a simple example. Ted, Ken, Allison, and Janie, 2 married couples, each have a favorite sport: running, swimming, biking, and golf. Given the following clues, determine who likes which sport. Okay. All right. The reason this is an easier problem is because we're dealing with 4 people and we're dealing with 4 sports. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a table just to represent those. So let me extend this page a little bit. So we have names, and we have Ted and Ken and Allison and Janie. Those are our 4 people that we're talking about. And what we want to do is we want to determine which sport those 4 people like. So one likes to run, another one likes swimming, another one likes to bike, and another one likes to golf. So let me draw this table. And there's our table. Okay, so now we're going to use the clues, and we're going to also write down our steps as we go. So Ted hates golf. So we know that Ted cannot be golf, and so we're going to put a no right here, and we're just going to say Ted hates golf. He agrees with Mark Twain that golf is nothing but a good walk spoiled. Okay, so we're done with that first clue. I don't think we can do anything else with Ted. Okay, so number 2, it says Ken wouldn't run around the block if he didn't have to, and neither would his wife. So Ken doesn't run. So Ken doesn't run. So we're going to put a no for Ken with running. Okay. Now, he said his wife doesn't like to run either. And so what that means is that one of the women don't like to run. So another woman could. So we're going to come back to that. So we can write down, I'm just going to actually underline that for now instead of even writing it down. Okay, each woman's favorite sport is featured in a triathlon. So basically, both women they either like to run, bike, or swim, because that's in a triathlon. So that means they don't like golf. And that comes from number 3. So no women like golf. So that means that Ken golfs. So Ken golfs. Alright, so we'll put a yes for Ken right there. So that means that Ken doesn't swim and doesn't bike. Alright, so we got Ken done. Number 4, Allison bought her husband a new bike for his birthday to use in his favorite sport. So Allison bought her husband, so that means that a man has to bike. So a man bikes, so therefore Ted bikes. So we'll put yes for Ted biking. So that means that he doesn't swim and he doesn't run. And so Allison doesn't bike and neither does Janie. Okay, so now what we have to do is we have to figure out who swims and who runs. So Ken's wife, Ken wouldn't run around the block if he didn't have to, and neither would his wife. So Ken's wife doesn't run. So Ken's wife doesn't run. And number 4 says Allison bought her husband a new bike. And so Ken doesn't like to bike. So that means that Allison is not Ken's wife. So 6, Allison isn't Ken's wife because Ken golfs and she brought her husband a bike. So that means that, so Janie is Ken's wife. And doesn't run. So Janie doesn't run. So that means that Allison runs and Janie swims. So then we will end up writing down who does what. So number 7, so Ted bikes, Ken golfs, Allison runs, and Janie swims. And that is how we do matrix logic when we're talking about only 2 things. Okay? So let's try one more. Let's talk about muscle cars. 2 men, Garrett and P-Dog, and 3 women, CG, Tesha, and Karen, each drive a muscle car: Chevy Camaro, Chevy Chevrolet, Dodge Challenger, Dodge Charger, and a Ford Mustang. From the clues below, determine which person drives which car. Okay, so we're going to first use matrix logic, and we're going to draw a table. So let's start out with the cars. We're talking about a Chevy Camaro, and then we have a Chevy Chevrolet, and then we have a Dodge Challenger, and then we have a Dodge Charger, and then we have a Ford Mustang. And we're talking about Garrett P-Dog, CG, Tesha, and Karen. Okay, I'm not going to write down all of the steps so that I can get this video done in a shorter amount of time, but make sure that you write down all your steps when you have your write-ups for your problems. So we're just going to walk through this one. Alright, so let's look at our first. One woman drives a Dodge, one woman drives a Chevy, and the other one drives a Ford. Okay, so basically we have one woman who drives all three of those. So I want to come back to that one. Garrett and the Camaro owner both work at Denny's. Okay, so that means that Garrett cannot drive the Camaro. So we're going to go, Garrett is no for the Camaro. Karen has never been there. So that means that Karen also doesn't own a Camaro because she does not work at Denny's. So Karen is no to the Camaro. P-Dog and the two Chevy owners went to the movies together. So that means that P-Dog does not own a Chevy. And CG loves her Challenger. So CG is the Dodge Challenger. So we're going to go yes for her. Okay, I think we're done with step 4. So now we got to go back to our problem. So we know that CG is no to the Camaro, no to the Chevy, no to the Charger, and no to the Mustang. So then what's left here is Tesha must be a Chevy Camaro. So then we have no for everybody else. I'm going to actually circle the yeses. Might make it a little bit easier. And then we fill in the no's here. Okay. Now, it said that one woman drives the Dodge. And so we got the Dodge taken care of. A Chevy is taken care of. And the other woman drives a Ford. So we already got two women that drive a Chevy and a Dodge. So that means that Karen must drive the Ford. So we're going to circle that. And no. And no. And we're just filling in everything else. And this has to be a yes for Garrett for the Chevy Chevrolet. And no for everything else. And a yes there. And that is how you use matrix logic. You just keep filling in things until you can't fill them in anymore. Okay? Alright, the next video is going to show you when we have 3 different things. And that gets a little bit more complicated.